Hello, my name is Claudette Randall, and today I will be speaking on a developmental psychology topic in which I would ultimately answer this question: does attachment vary across cultures? I was intrigued by this topic personally because I was born and raised in an entirely different culture from the one I participate in today. I would like to first begin by defining attachment in reference to developmental psychology. Attachment is the basis of emotional and intellectual development throughout life. Although the attachment relationship is universal, I would like to emphasize that the way in which it is expressed by mothers, families, and children varies in different parts of the world. Like most core principles, the attachment theory is deeply rooted in mainstream Western thought and definitely requires change when applied to other cultures or minority groups. My goal today is to foster an understanding of what is culturally specific about human attachment and to shift from a unified stance to a more broader approach of this aspect of human relationships. Culture plays a key role in the development of a child. The theories surrounding attachment and motherhood reflects Western culture beliefs might not be applicable cross-culturally. Cross-cultural difference in attachment may reflect the expectation of various cultures and their values. Infant attachment, specifically as defined in the textbook, is the positive emotional bond formed between children and a particular individual, usually a parent or a caregiver. This attachment provides a sense of security to children and allows them to explore the environment, returning to the adult during periods of distress. There is an ancient African proverb in which I am very familiar with that says, "It takes a village to raise a child," which expresses an underlying truth in most other cultures as well as African culture. Most societies around the world do not expect mothers or parents to raise the children alone. The mothers and their young children are usually involved in larger kinship groups and communities that help with childcare and other tasks. In most cultures and socioeconomic groups, limited resources and daily survival needs require distributing caregiving responsibilities across a network of relatives, including siblings, aunt, uncles, grandparents, and etc. These infants, just to backtrack, I would also like to add that neighbors are included in that list that I just provided as well. These infants, particularly those who have a lot of experiences with strangers, tend to show less anxiety than those whose experiences with strangers are limited. Compared to Western culture, where there is a heavy emphasis on stranger danger or staying away from people that are not in their immediate family, this practice might seem very peculiar, but research on attachment has shown that infants may develop multiple attachment relationships while still being able to have a primary caregiver. If we were to diverge from the cultural values of the Western middle class and focus on the non-Western and mainly rural environments, the assumptions on stranger anxiety and the mainstream definition of attachment would be reconceptualized. Attachment in media likes to push one of the four types of attachments, and the rest are either looked down upon or not even mentioned. When watching the behavioral patterns that characterizes an infant-caregiver relationship, four types of attachments are brought up: secure, avoidant, ambivalent, and disorganized. Many Western studies seem to presume that secure attachment is the better style for children or has more of a positive effect on a person's life later on. Greater attachment security is generally associated with positive outcomes, including satisfying relationships, better self-esteem, mental health, and coping strategies. In media, we see the mother being the primary and important caregiver. Commercials depicting infant care embrace secure attachment in order to promote positive infant mental health and develop secure early attachment. Shows such as The Gilmore Girls, The Simpsons, depict family dynamics that promote secure attachments, whilst avoidance attachment is looked down upon and depicted negatively in films such as The Vegetarian, which depicts family dynamics in a stereotypical Asian culture. Or We Need to Talk About Kevin, which ultimately and presumably ends up in a disaster. This portrayal impacts many non-Western cultures by promoting and feeding a certain stereotype that truthfully should not be applied to every family. Generalizations such as these send a bad message that non-Western cultures are not raising their children properly. When culture doesn't determine while culture does not determine a child's attachment style, it does impact what attachment styles are encouraged. If expressing emotions is frowned upon, generally, then suppression of one's emotions is seen as the best way to deal or cope with negative emotions such as anger or sadness. For example, many cultures facilitate through avoidant attachment, characterized by emotional dismissiveness, avoidance, or withdrawal. By no means am I saying that Western parenting is better than any other parenting or any other cultures. But in any culture, children who have attachments considered secure in the sense that the mother or primary caregiver shows consistent responses to the needs of their children are much likelier to thrive emotionally than those who experience an insecure type of attachment. In conclusion, I would like to say that understanding the cultural frameworks that guide other people's behaviors give us the opportunity to understand behavior rather than to judge it based on our own cultural framework and environment. Just because a culture does things one way or differently does not mean it is necessarily wrong or inhumane. Thank you.